Conor McGregor, the Notorious one, he is back in the USADA testing pool. That is correct. That is the news that is doing the rounds, which is kind of funny because yesterday the news was that he wasn't back in the USADA testing pool. Damon Martin, a very respected MMA journalist, actually tweeted yesterday, as of the last UFC USADA report, the update on September 28th, Conor McGregor has not been tested by USADA. At this point, I think we're pretty much looking at UFC 300. And he went on with some other stuff. And now today, McGregor has come out and he's tweeted himself. And here is what he actually had to say. And he showed a little picture of him sparring. He said, finding my targets, hit them, F the consequences, you're going down. This is fighting, sparring day with the slick Grozdenev, the Kolaev, or however the hell you say that word. Always a banger of a spar with the slick fella. Submitting my stuff to Nowitzki. He's the head of the USADA program. Ball rolling, see you soon, you little light work bitch. Very, very nasty words to Michael Chandler, who has been patiently waiting like a good little boy on the sidelines. Shout out Michael Chandler, absolutely love that guy and love the way that he fights. So, McGregor's back in the USADA testing pool. And, you know, I was thinking about this recently. He probably had to wait to get back in the USADA testing pool because there was probably stuff in his system. If you go back in the USADA testing pool and you fail a test, well, then wouldn't you get suspended? So then that would delay it even further. But the reality is, whatever it is, he's back. He's confident that he's going to test clean. He's back in the testing pool, and that gives us 6 months. Okay? 6 months from now brings us to April. And if you count the pay-per-views down, that brings us to UFC 300. Yes, my powers of deduction are second to none. So, Michael Chandler versus Conor McGregor will go down. UFC 300, T-Mobile Arena, Las Vegas, and I cannot wait. Love him, hate him. There's a lot on both sides. Conor McGregor is the most exciting fighter in the UFC. And Conor McGregor, well, the sport of mixed martial arts is a better place with him around. It's as simple as that. Nobody garners the level of interest, the ticket sales, the pay-per-view, the madness, the excitement that McGregor does. It's always a circus. It really is. And I can't wait because against Michael Chandler, that fight's going to be ridiculous. We'll get to that in a little bit. First of all, what kind of version of Conor McGregor will we get? That's going to be the real question. We always say, or people always say, you know, you sleep in silk sheets, you know, you haven't got the same motivation. Dana White even was asked about it at a press conference recently. And he said, listen, you know, with the amount of money that Conor McGregor's made, it's hard to stay hungry. When you're coming up like that and you're trying to get all these riches, you're trying to become a champion, you're trying to get respect, you're trying to change your life, you're extremely hungry. You're in the gym, the first one to arrive, last one to leave. That ain't the case. The man's floating around on Lamborghini yachts, okay? He's got all the supercars. He's loaded. We know that. So the motivation isn't there. Potentially, though, because money can buy a lot of things, but it can't buy respect in the fight game. It can't buy the UFC Lightweight Championship of the world, and it can't buy a win in the UFC. McGregor didn't get to becoming the double champ without having a solid work ethic. That's for sure, right? That isn't a fluke. You don't do that on natural ability. So the man has worked very, very hard to get in the position where he is right now. Okay, simple as that. And he probably feels a little bit disrespected. He hasn't fought since July 2021, where he snapped his leg against Dustin Poirier. As we know, he went off, he came out the USADA testing pool, got on some steroids, so some testosterone, whatever the products were to aid the healing of the leg. And now he's got a titanium shin bone, and he was walking around like a refrigerator, as he called himself, challenging everybody from heavyweights to lightweights, you name it. He was after a crack with everyone. But you can't doubt the man's work ethic. And now a lot can change in 6 months, okay? And as I said, you know, he wants to be respected in the fight game. He doesn't want to become remembered for falling on the floor against Dustin Poirier with a broken leg. Before that, Dustin Poirier knocked him out cold. And he lost to Khabib Nurmagomedov, which is one of the biggest fights in UFC history. The biggest fight in UFC history. So he wants to rewrite history, to use that term again. So if he can come back against Michael Chandler at UFC 300, which will be watched worldwide by all sports fans, all combat fans, I'm telling you, right? They'll all forget about that because in mixed martial arts, you're only as good as your last fight. If he can come back and knock out Michael Chandler in sensational fashion, well, then forget everything that happened in the past because, as I said at the start of this video, Conor McGregor is back. And let me tell you, it's a matchup but that can definitely happen. Michael Chandler is an incredible wrestler. McGregor isn't easy to take down. He's got good grappling. He's got good takedown defense, and he's handy on the floor as well. Remember that first fight against Nate Diaz where he lost? I think Diaz caught his leg or tripped him up or something, and he hit a beautiful sweep on Diaz to get back to his feet. So the man can grapple clearly. He was hard to take down against Khabib Nurmagomedov in the first couple of rounds as well. But if Chandler was to use the wrestling, he would have a lot more success. But Michael Chandler, there's just something about that man which you've got to respect, right? He goes out there and he just swings. When he fought Dustin Poirier at Madison Square Garden, that was his last fight, November 2022. Went out just throwing a series of right hands, one after the other. Looked like he might take the diamond out of there in record time, but of course, Dustin Poirier, being the legend that he is as well, was able to turn this around. Now, Michael Chandler got asked about the McGregor fight because he has been waiting patiently, and he said, a lot of people are calling me delusional. Why are you waiting? You're wasting all of these years. I believe we get lazy or we get busy. And at 37 years old, I feel better than a lot of 27-year-olds. Taking good care of my body and taking good care of my mind, even with the wear and tear that I've put on my body. I'm not worried about the getting old thing. I feel phenomenal, and I have a lot of tread left on these tires. If anything, I need a little bit of rest. So a little bit of time off isn't a bad thing. I'm building things outside of fighting, and people will be able to see the fruits of my labor when the time comes. And that is an interesting fact, to be honest, because if you follow Michael Chandler on Instagram, the man is working out all the time. As I said before, McGregor's floating around the world, living a playboy lifestyle, having a goddamn great time, let's be honest, right? Living a great life, right? Not really in the gym so much. Chandler's in there. He's doing circuits. He's sparring. He's working on jiu-jitsu. He's working on his wrestling, even though he won't use it. The man is an athlete, and that is the lifestyle that he lives. But McGregor is just a wild man inside the cage and outside the cage, and sometimes with a bit of work ethic, a bit of madness, right? Look at John Jones. Look at Mike Tyson. That's what makes you special. So, there it is. Conor McGregor is back in the USADA testing pool. He will be facing Michael Chandler at UFC 300. But what do you think? Who wins? Do you think we're going to see some shenanigans? We're going to see a nasty build-up? And ultimately, yeah, who gets the job done and how do they get the job done? Thanks for watching. Subscribe, ring the bell. But before I go, Tales from the Octagon 2 that is coming to Manchester and London. Tales from the Octagon was a tour that I did in 2021. And it was a sold-out tour, so thank you all for those that attended. I talked about my own life in a funny and amusing style, made fun of myself, took the piss, as we say in England. But we're coming back, and this time I'll be joined on stage by Tom Aspinall and Paul Craig, right? So you haven't got to listen to me endure talking about the hardships of fighting in the octagon with one eye and how hard I had it growing up and going to prison and all this type of shit. No, we've done that. We've been there. You've got the T-shirt, probably, if you were there. I'll be taking the piss out of other people. We'll be having a good laugh at other people's expenses. Then Tom's going to come out, Paul's going to come out, we're going to have a few drinks, we're going to dive deep into their careers, but all in a very funny, amusing way. Come along. London at the Indigo at the O2 and the Manchester Apollo Theatre. Last time 3,500 people were there. What an incredible night. Tom Aspinall was there as well. So come along, meet us, ask us some questions, and buy your tickets, myticket.co.uk, or just search Tales from the Octagon 2. Anyway, thanks for watching. Subscribe, ring the bell. See you soon.